So I took the Everyday You and Me workshop, scrapbooking workshop, and did a makeover. You're seeing the pages now that I made using Kelly Baxter-Fitzgerald's Hey Handsome Sparkle and Shine workshop instructions and applied it to the Everyday You and Me workshop that Stampin' Up! Is now offering. So these are all the ones that I made. I stretched that 3 layout workshop into a 6-page workshop or a 6 layout workshop. So what I'm going to show you now is my bonus layout. So after I created the whole thing and I added the tartan foil cardstock, that's what you're seeing right here. And I decided there's still so much left in my pile that I think I'm going to do an extra layout. Now, the workshop makeover that I did was all based and tried to make it like more masculine, but there was a lot of more floral elements in the Everyday You and Me scrapbooking workshop. And so I couldn't just leave all of those flowers in my leftover bin. I had to take them out and create something. So you're seeing right now that I trimmed down the tartan foil to 11 by 11. Then I decided to gut the middle because I just love this cardstock and I love the extra foiling on it, and I wanted to save every bit that I could to use and stretch my materials. So I'm just gutting out a frame here, and this is going to be the inside frame on my layout. So I'm going to set those aside and start assembling my pages. So I have frames left from my workshop. That's what you see right here. And I'm going to put this tartan foil on top of it. And this is a really dark layout, in my opinion, for a floral layout. But just wait till you see the whole thing come together. It ends up being so beautiful. And I know, there's a couple of circles that's cut out of this DSP, but it's going to be okay. Trust me. So I'm going to put this piece down. I'm telling you, I'm using all of the scraps, all of my leftovers as much as I can. And I'm putting it in that bottom left-hand corner. I don't know that it stays in the bottom left with my vinyl piece, but I'm putting it in a place in a corner where I think I can actually create an embellishment or layer something over top. So that's my plan. So I'm creating my 2 base pages right here. So I will admit, after I finish this layout, there are a few things left in my pile, but I think it is just the right amounts to make like cards with because I don't have any large pieces left over once I finish. So here I'm going to, again, make my other base page, and I'm going to get everything ready for the next step. So I'm going to lay these. This is how it will appear. That circles will be on the left side layout, and it'll be on the bottom right hand corner. And I will put something over it. And then you see that I'm bringing in a piece of that more bluish, I believe it's Pretty Peacock tartan foil. I'm going to trim this down so that I have enough for both sides. I just want a little piece, and I'm going to trim it. I had an inside piece of the copper clay cardstock, and it was a big square like what I cut out of those other frames, and I cut it diagonally, and here I am adding a strip of that Pretty Peacock tartan foil, and I'm just going to trim off the angles so that it matches up perfectly, and I will do that to both of the copper clay triangles that you see. I just love this basic scrapbook layout where you take a large square, cut it on the diagonal, and have the 2 triangles so they draw your eye to the center of the layout. I just think it's a very great one, a really good go-to layout. And you can always bump it up with adding more layers like I did, since I have 3 different layers of that frame for my base, and you can add little embellishments like I have here with the extra pretty peacock stripe going down that triangle, but it's just a great go-to. I have a few go-tos that I like. One of them, all of you know, is the what I call the tic-tac-toe layout, where you have all the squares on the right hand side and you have a feature layout on the left. But this is one of my other favorites that I like to pull out every once in a while. So now I've created my base and I'm ready to work on the rest of the layout. You remember that I took that tartan foil and I gutted it before I added on my pretty DSP. Well, I'm going to use that and some of the copper clay that I have left over, and I'm going to make the mats for my photo spots. Now, when I'm working on making photo spots, I like to keep as many large ones as I can. That's just my personal preference. I like to keep 4x6, I like to keep 4x4s, and as many of those as I can put on, I usually try to do that. This spot with those circles is a great spot to put a 4x6 because it will be large enough to cover up everything and it will look still nice, and you won't know that I had kind of taken chunks out of that piece of pattern paper underneath. So now I'm just cutting down my different layers. I even brought in some leftover cardstock. I believe that might have been gray granite cardstock, and I'm just cutting them down and seeing what size layers I can put around my page. So I'm trying to find a really nice visual layout and make sure that you can still see that I have those triangles from the side. I want to make sure I leave a place for a title, and I think I know which title I'm going to use, and I'm just trimming down all the little scraps that I have. Now I know this tartan foil cardstock is no longer available, and that's what I combined with the Everyday You and Me workshop. But what I want to encourage you to do is take your stash and find things that coordinate. Like the Everyday You and Me workshop did not have copper clay in it, but it did have these other colors like the pretty peacock and the grays in it that coordinated perfectly with the Everyday You and Me. And then if you look at your color coach, if you look at a color wheel, you will see what will also coordinate with the products that you're using. And so when I really looked at the color wheel, when I looked at my products and what I had that would complement the Everyday You and Me workshop, that's when I brought in a whole new color, and that copper clay totally changed the look of all of those layouts. So you can go back and see the layouts that I posted at the beginning of this video. You can also look at the layouts that they have for the workshop, and they are beautiful. They're very soft, but I was able to bring in a color, I was able to bring in products that look nice with it. So I really want to encourage you to look at the things that you have and find some other complementary pieces that can work with them. You can stretch your supplies so that you can make so many more things, and it really is a great way to be creative and expand the possibilities of what you can make in a workshop. And then I also want to encourage you to find some inspiration from previous things that you've created. Many of us have old workshop guides from close to my heart still in our craft rooms. Get out one of those workshop guides and use it with some of these new fresh papers, and it just totally makes over the whole thing, especially if you can bring in some other products. Now, if I wanted to make this Everyday You and Me workshop in a girly fashion, I would bring in some glitter paper or something like that. And that really just changes the look of things too. So find something that you are wanting to make find a way to stretch it and complement what's already in those basic workshops. So I have brought in pieces from the punch out sheet. That's where you see all of these large florals and the leaves. And I've also brought in pieces from the sticker sheet. And that's where I'm getting my titles and things like that. And the center of these flowers are just going to be some more of the stickers that I get off of my sticker sheet. My title there says My Happy Place, and I'm layering this on top of some of the florals, and you see I'm just creating layers with my stickers and things like that. Some of them I'm putting on foam tape to give it some dimension, and I really like how I ended up with two large photos for that left side, two of the 4x6 photos on the left, and I still had plenty of space at the top for a title and lots of decoration all around it. Okay, I'm going to finish up this side, and I will come back and revisit this left-hand page in a minute because I'm going to have to add a little bit more embellishment. But let's start on the right-hand page and get all of our photo spots down to begin with. So I have a large 4x6 that is in portrait orientation on the bottom right. And then above it, I will put a 3x4 that's landscape orientation. And then I have my 4x4 that'll be at the bottom on the left. And then I'll put another 3x4 at the top, and I'll make that one a portrait orientation. And I will tell you, a lot of times when I have 3x4 photo spots, I don't always reprint the whole photo at 3x4. A lot of times I can cut out enough stuff and really focus in on the part of the picture I want. So you don't always have to reprint your photos. Consider cropping them if there's stuff in them that you don't need. And I'm kind of playing with a little embellishment cluster for the middle. I'm not sure how that one's going to work out. I might change it up some. But I wanted to make sure that I have room for an embellishment cluster and just have it slightly overlap some of these pictures a little bit. So I'm going to bring in some leaves. These were from that punch out sheet, that cutout sheet that I had. And I'm making sure that I only put the adhesive on the spots that are not overlapping where my photos will tuck down in. And so I'm really adhering those to the extra spots between the photo placeholders. Does that make sense? And then I can always add my pictures on top of these photo placeholders, or I can pull off the photo placeholders. I like to leave the photo placeholders on because it gives me one more layer behind my photos. And then I decided to change out. I didn't like that tag that was in the wild wheat. It did not stand out enough. So I'm going to layer up a few other things. I have this sticker sheet that I'm bringing in, and I really like that darker, pretty peacock, I think it is, or maybe it's even, I think it's pretty peacock that has that print of that leaf print on it. And so it looks like a little branch or something on there. And then I'm just layering up some of the stickers on top. And I even use the stickers for the center of the flowers. And I'm tucking in a little piece, a sticker that says loving this on that bottom right-hand corner. It's just like, like a file tab. It's just a little sticker tab that I'm putting down there. And I'm coming over and I decide I'm going to create a little embellishment cluster in the bottom right. So I'm going to start with that bigger tag element and just cluster up some little stickers, mostly of flowers. And then I found that large circle element, and that looks really nice. And so I'm going to layer those together and use those. And it has a little hole at the top for both of these tags, so I will need to come in and put something on those tags eventually. But for now, let's just continue to work on clusters and adding some little embellishments here and there around the layout. So I pop up a little heart, but most of it's little florals under there. And I look and I'm like, I think I could add a little something to the center of that flower. We'll pop that up on foam tape. And then I think I could add something up to the top. I like the banners, and so I'm going to do, it's not even a full cluster, but just a couple of banners up in that top right hand corner. So I find one that says dream, and it's pretty long, but I put that up there, and it kind of has banner tips at both ends. So I just layer up the banners the way that I like them, and then I will trim off any of the excess. I want to make sure the one that has all the florals is just slightly overlapping, but I don't want it to take away from where you see the word dream. So I've got that up there, and then I have this other cute little sticker with like 3 flowers, and I want to add it someplace, so I pop it up and put it at the bottom underneath that 4x4 photo in the corner. And then I'm going to take and add some of the Natural Tones linen thread, and that's what I'm going to tie up in both of my tags, this one and the one at the bottom left hand corner of the other page. And then I am using every little bit of my dimensionals and mini dimensionals. So I take those long strips from around the side and I just use those for strips on the back of it. And I was really making sure that where I stick it down will not be on top of those photo placeholders that I have. So I want to make sure that it's just right. So here's my final layout. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'm leaving a link to the full playlist so you can go back and watch how I did all of the layouts.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more crafty inspiration.